What's the hardest thing about being a fighter?
That is a tough question, Eric. My first instinct is to say the training.
Yeah, sure.
But I would say you experience a level of disconnect with normal people. And I don't say normal people, I'm not trying to make self-aggrandize myself
Sure.
or fighters in general.
Yeah.
But there is like a level of like nobody really understands what it is that you do for a living. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they see you get in the cage, they see you fight, they know that you fight, they see you with black eyes and broken noses and all this stuff. But I don't think it's easy for people to conceptualize exactly what goes into preparation for a fight and what exactly fighters have to go through on a daily basis. Like you're a person who commits acts of violence casually for fun with your friends, with people you care about and you love. So
Hey, quick shout out to our primary sponsor for this episode. It is Peter Harrett. He's the author of The Rings of Hesseron, and here's an excerpt from his book. Check it out.
The steadily intensifying rumble echoed through the river valley. Pierce stared in that direction, but the sound offered not a single clue to its source or the cause. Lauren, his wife, and their 3 children joined him on the high bank, all searching the murky sky as one. A mixture of wonder and dread of the unknown filled their hearts. As it neared the ground, the sound grew exponentially, roaring, snapping, popping, and shaking the bones of the small group of onlookers. Then the low-hanging clouds started glowing, radiating yellow light on the snow-covered grasslands. To the family, it seemed as if the sun was falling to earth. They watched in horror as a fireball broke through the glowing clouds and streaked to the ground. As it struck, the object threw up a frightening plume of earth and snow, followed by a deafening boom. The concussion wave that followed sent them reeling. Their world shook violently, and snow fell from the trees around them as they struggled for balance.
Ian, you're an MMA fighter, purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, much, much more, man. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
thank you for having me, Eric.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to MMA Tee Company for connecting you and I for this interview. They're such a great guys and really excited to hear your story. I like to start my shows up by going back a bit, man. Where did you grow up and what was childhood like for you?
I was born and raised in Philadelphia. You know, I've lived in Northeast Philadelphia, bordering on North Philadelphia, my entire life. Working class background. This is a really typical story for a lot of fighters, but yeah, no, my dad worked at a gas station when I was born. My mom was unemployed for the first few years of my, when I was born, when I was a baby. So, I've come up, I'm proud of coming up working class, you know what I mean? And I try to carry that with me, always. I was in, just like my dad before me, I was in trades and things like that, you know what I mean? And did manual labor for most of my life. So I'm really proud of being from Philadelphia, which is such a prolific fight town. As far as it goes here, and that sort of humble upbringing, I take a lot of pride in it.
Oh, I love that, man. It's awesome, man. Tapology shows that you started fighting around 2018. Is that correct?
Now, yeah, I started fighting mixed martial arts around 20. I got my first my mixed martial arts debut was in 2018 for Art of War cage fighting. Before that, I had competed in Muay Thai for a few years.
Nice.
My first fight was 7 years ago, so that was 2015.
Okay.
When I was I guess 16, 17 years old. And then I took a short break after my first loss. I went through a long period with Muay Thai where I would do a full camp and I would prepare for these fights. I had about like 10 to 11 fight camps and only ended up having 4 Muay Thai fights.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Muay Thai scene in Philadelphia was not great, and a lot of the guys would pull out. I had fights where I had guys pull out the week of, the day of, you know what I mean? So I took a short break from that, and then in 2018, I had my coach Daniel Gracie, just out of the blue when I was coming into training one day, asked me if I wanted to take an MMA fight, and I said, why not? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I mean, it's so frustrating though, man. When fighters pull out of the fights, and I'm not a fighter myself, so I like so much respect for you guys getting in the cage and going through the weight cut process and all that stuff, man. But I can't imagine it's so frustrating, man. Just like if someone pulls out last minute, man, and you got to start over or not even fight at all, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much preparation that goes into this sort of thing. So it's just
Yeah.
a little, more than anything, it's like irritating. You know what I mean? When I
Sure.
look back on it, I'm not even angry or anything like that. It's just like, come on, man. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
You
Well,
cut the weight too. Like, why not just fight? I don't get it.
right. Totally. What was that reaction from your friends and your family when you're like, hey, I want to go punch, people in the face and get, maybe get paid for it and, get into a cage or do Muay Thai?
You know, my friends are all teenage boys at the time, so they were
Okay.
all about it.
Yeah.
My mom absolutely hated the idea. She every fight, now she's a little more comfortable because she
Yeah.
knows my skill set. She knows my ability. She knows I train with like the best team in the city. So
Yeah.
she's a lot more comfortable and she's into the idea, but she used to crush my dad's hand, man. She used to like pulverize those bones, man. It was crazy. She was so nervous.
That's awesome. Do they still
Yeah.
come to your fights today?
Of course, yeah. I
Yeah.
always make sure that they're provided for as far as tickets and things go.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. First thing I do when I get out of the cage is look for my mom.
Oh,
Always.
sweet. Yeah. Super cool, man. I mean, your last fight was February 2020. It was against Patrick Brady, Art of War heavyweight title. You guys like went to absolute war on the night. The judges ended up calling it a draw. I mean, what's going through your mind when they're reading off that decision?
Honestly, when I finished the fight, so with a lot of my fights, especially the ones that people end up telling me were good fights, I don't remember what happened afterwards. Like immediately afterwards, I'm like, oh shit, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, and it's probably the fact that I got hit in the head so many times that night.
Sure.
Contributes to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, immediately afterwards, when they called a draw, I was kind of convinced that I thought I had lost the fight.
Okay.
Initially I was like and I don't know why I thought that, but that was my immediate reaction was but my coaches, when I went back to the corner, they were like, I think we did enough to win this one. I think we're good. And I mean, I wasn't upset with the decision at the time.
Sure.
I take things, it's my amateur career, so I take things as it goes, you know what I mean? But it was just a good fight. Everybody enjoyed it, so that's all that mattered to me.
Yeah. And now you're both fighting on 522 at Art of War again. Your new opponent, Raiden Keller, undefeated, 2 of 3 of his fights on the ground. You've also have wins on the ground there. I mean, without giving the game plan away, how do you see this fight playing out, man?
The really interesting thing about this is when all is said and done, I really have to thank Raiden Keller because he is definitely one of my toughest opponents coming into this. And the guy really motivated me because you know how quarantine did everyone. This lockdown ruined everybody's. I was out of shape. I had gained 20, 30 pounds. And as a heavyweight, that means I weighed in 255, 257 for my last fight. That means I was up in the 280s. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But I knew that when I got this fight announcement, when they offered this to me, that this was going to be a tough one. So my nutrition's been perfect. I really got back into the process and fell back in love with a fight camp. And, without giving anything away, Raiden, I know we are well matched as far as our grappling abilities go, but I think I beat him on the stand-up.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, and with Patrick fighting that same night, I assume if you guys both get wins, they're going to put you guys back together for a rematch there. Did they tell you why they didn't put you guys together this go round? Or, I mean, what was your thoughts when you're like, dude, what? I don't get to like fight for the title again? Or was that frustrating at all?
No, actually, Pat and I are friends. So
okay.
Gotcha. We know, like, we're not super close or anything like that, but we've trained together and we have mutual friends and things like that. So we have a good relationship. And we both discussed it, and we wanted to cut our teeth again before we really put on a show. You know what I mean? Which nothing is certain in the fight game, but I would rather be at my best and most seasoned way to perform when we do the rematch, because there's as far as regionally, there's a lot of buzz around that rematch. So
sure,
I would want to be able to put on the best show that I can.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it, dude. I can't wait for that rematch. It's going to be so good, dude. How did you get the nickname The Hammer?
So when I first was in Muay Thai, my coach, Nate Zignon, he's a local Muay Thai guy.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of a shout out too. I'll end up sharing this in tag in a minute, I guess. But he used to call me Thor because I was, I guess the big white guy in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, after a while, I guess that's sort of, he gave me the idea for the nickname, and I first used it on my third Muay Thai fight. So there's no great story about it or anything like that, but that, that was sort of funny the way it came about, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a goal date in mind of when you want to go pro as a fighter?
Well, Like I said, nothing's certain in the fight game, but
Totally.
This next fight goes well. We get the Pat Brady fight out the way. That goes well. Then definitely, I've been training for a decade at this point.
Right.
I train with high level guys all the time. It's mostly just getting that cage time that
Yeah.
is so important to me right now. Because even in MMA, like I mentioned before with Muay Thai and people dropping out and fights not coming through, I had the same problem with MMA. It's just the way the fight game goes.
Yep.
So I mean, if I get enough cage time and I get these fights out of the way, then I'd like to go pro right after. I'd like to start making some money doing this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the hardest thing about being a fighter?
That is a tough question, Erik. My first instinct is to say the training.
Yeah, sure.
But I would say you experience a level of disconnect with normal people, and I don't say normal people. I'm not trying to make self-aggrandize myself or fighters in general.
Yeah.
But there is like a level of like nobody really understands what it is that you do for a living. You know what I mean? Like they see you get in the cage, they see you fight, they know that you fight, they see you with black eyes and broken noses and all this stuff. But I don't think it's easy for people to conceptualize exactly what goes into preparation for a fight and what exactly fighters have to go through on a daily basis. Like you're a person who commits acts of violence casually, for fun, with your friends, with people you care about and you love. So it's like, what exactly, I don't blame people for not being able to necessarily understand that, but at the same time it makes things difficult when you're relating to like you spend 10 years, like I have spent 10 years training and fighting, and then my friends from high school who I still have, luckily I'm very thankful for them, but I can't really explain to them exactly what this lifestyle is like, and something I can't talk to them about.
Yep. Now, fighting at heavyweight, you talked about kind of gaining a bunch of weight during quarantine there. Like, what's that weight cut process look like for you? Do you cut much weight when you get into the cage?
This is the first time I've really cut a lot of weight for heavyweight.
Okay.
I gotta say, like, I'm not in the best shape of my life. That would probably be when I was like 195, but like coming from 280, 290, wherever I was before that, in this case, it was just, caloric intake monitoring, and then doing my normal training camp plus some extra work. You know what I mean? So I train 3-4 times a day, 6 days a week, and that's a lot. But also, like, you really need to monitor that caloric intake, or you're just going to sit at the same weight. So as soon as I figured out my nutrients, my macronutrients, and really got everything together, the weight cut was actually really easy. It just took time.
Nice.
I am probably 265 on the dot right now, and I'm in better shape than I was at 257 or 250 for my last 2 fights.
Nice, man. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I wanted to transition to some fun questions here. If you watch my shows, I've got this thing called Pod Deck, essentially just random questions, man. I'm gonna pull them out here and we'll see what happens. And hopefully we don't get a flop card here. We'll see what this one says here. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep?
Probably MyFitnessPal, which I use every day now. Spotify, and I don't know, maybe Messenger. I use that all the time. I have no exciting apps. I'm not a social media guy either.
Yeah. That's awesome. Always interesting question to ask, but like, who has hit you the hardest? Like in a fight or in training, you've been in the game for 10 years. Like, is there someone that just rocked you and you're like, holy crap, man, that just nailed me?
I've only been dropped one time.
Okay.
Ever in training, and it was by Sean Brady.
Okay.
Sean Brady, I've known. Are you familiar? I think he's number 11 number 13 welterweight in the world right now.
Okay.
With the UFC. We came out of the same gym. I've known him since I was like 14 years old. And when I was getting ready for my first Muay Thai fight, our coaches would put us together, and he threw a spinning back fist, and it was the one time I like woke up on the floor. You know what I mean? It was. But other than that, probably Azuna and Yanwu was the other one who hit me hardest.
Okay.
I mean, and that guy has a crazy right hand.
Yeah.
All of his knockouts are with that crazy right hand.
Love that, dude. I'm such a music guy, so I love to ask the question, like, what's the favorite type of music for you, or do you have a favorite band that you like to listen to?
That's the tough one. I mean, I'm a lot of people say this, but I'm pretty versatile as far as music goes.
Yeah.
I will name drop the group Death Grips because they do my walkout song.
Oh, nice.
They're kind of like an industrial techno rap group. That I wouldn't call them like underground or anything. They kind of had a surge in popularity in the last few years, but they are. I'll name drop those guys.
Sweet, man. Right on. Well, Ian, I also wanted to give you an opportunity just to give a shout out to coaches, teammates, sponsors, anything like that, man. The camera's all yours, bro.
Well, let me just say, thank you to everyone. You know, I'm 2 weeks out from this fight. It's been one of the best fight camps of my life. I love all the guys down at Marquez MMA / EEFC MMA, John Marquez, Daniel Gracie, my head coach, Julio Rosario, my boxing coach, Sammy Sanchez. Last time when I did an interview with MMA Tee Co, I did not mention him, and he yelled at me about it. So I got to mention him now. Sammy, I love you, brother. And thank you to all my sponsors and everything who have supported me for this camp. I really do appreciate it. Other than that, there ain't much to say, you know?
Yeah. Oh, Ian, such an honor to have you on my show, man. I'm excited to see you back in the cage, and truly an honor to have you on, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching the show today. I appreciate it. If you could, please leave a rating and review on our Apple podcast. The link is down below. That helps us get our message out, get the show out, helps us get ranked out there on the Apple podcast. Also, leave a comment below, man. I'd love to know what part of this show made the most impact on you. I respond to every comment on there. And please share this video, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please share it out. We want to make sure that we impact as many people as we can with the guests that come on my show and highlight those guests and what they've got going on, and they're changing the world. So thank you so much for the time. So appreciate it. Have an awesome day.